Good morning. Today we are going to see the basic introduction about computer networks. These are all the things we are going to discuss now. First one, I'll give a brief example about how internet works. Next, we'll go for discussing with number of possible types of networks. Then we'll go for architectural classification of networks. And then what are all the devices, networking devices that exist in market, and we'll go for medium discussion, right? All these are mandatory things that needs to be known when you introduce networks to a beginner person, right? So let's go with the first one, which is internet example. So let's take, this is one network and this is another network. Let's take, this is source network and this is a destination network. Let's assume it is a simple client server model, right? So now a source, one of the hosts in the source network. This source network consists of more number of hosts, right? Let's assume there are more number of hosts available in the source network and there are more number of hosts available in the destination network, right? So here one of the hosts in the source network is making a request, right? So it's a HTTP request, right? It's a HTTP request to view a web page from the destination network. Let's take www.google.com, right? Google.com. This is the request, and using the browser, he is making a request, right? So this request will be transmitted to the gateway router, right? From this request, it is reaching the gateway router. As I already said, gateway router is nothing but, for example, let's take a small network, and this, as I already said, gateway router is nothing but the entry and the exit point of the network, right? So if any of the host needs to communicate to the outside world, right? Let's take, this is the outside world, right? This is the outside world, and if any of the host in the network needs to communicate to the outside world, then this communication can be possible only to the gateway router. This is gateway router, right? And this gateway router provides connection to the outside world, right? So this is nothing but the gateway router. So whatever the information that is getting transmitted from our network to the outside world, and whatever the information that is getting into our network will also be passed only through the gateway router. So this is the major work of gateway router. So let's minute. Right. So this is what work of a gateway router. It's nothing but an entry and exit point of a network, right? So now the information reaches the gateway router, and this gateway router will transmit the information, and it has to cross multiple number of routers, and finally it reaches the destination network, which is nothing but the Google network. And in the Google network there are plenty of systems available. So within that, it has to reach one particular system where that web page is residing, right? So it has to reach the destination network, right? Destination network and the respective destination. And within the destination, as I already said, every system has more number of processes running in the system, right? Let's assume there are more number of processes running in each system, and in that destination host, it has to reach the respective process, right? So first the host needs to the source host needs to take the request to gateway router, and gateway router, it has to cross multiple number of routers to reach the destination network. From destination network, it has to reach the destination host. From destination host, it has to reach the respective process for through which it can able to retrieve the web page, right? So once it has reached the process, it will generate the reply message for the requested web page, right? So web page will be transmitted again through the same path. So this is how a communication takes place, which is a client server model. Here this works as a client and this works as a server, right? So in this case, we are going to use a URL called www.google.com, right? This is the URL, right? And we'll call this as URL, and this URL we used to type in the web browser, right? So it takes the request and it gets the respective page, right? So how this because in the networking scenario, the important term we are going to use is IP address, because without the IP address we cannot able to communicate with the outside world, right? So if you want to if you want an internet connection, it's a logical address, right? Logical address, whereas MAC address is nothing but the physical address, right? Why this is logical? It's a physical address. So why this IP address is logical? Because if your host, if you are having a mobile phone, or else if you are having a laptop, so if the laptop is having two internet connections, then it has two different IP addresses, right? So IP address always for the connection, not for the device, right? Whereas MAC address is for the device, right? If you are having a, because if you are having a laptop, or if you are having a laptop, it will be getting the MAC address by the manufacturer, right? And it cannot be changed. MAC address cannot be changed. MAC address will be of 48 bits, whereas IP address will be of 32 bits, right? So a good example for IP addresses, let's take 16.18.22.63. We'll get back to it later. It's a separate topic. Whereas MAC address, it's a hexadecimal format. It's of 48 bits, right? So this IP address is for the connection. If you have two internet connections, for example, if my mobile phone is able to connect to Wi-Fi, my home Wi-Fi, it will be provided with separate IP address. If the mobile phone is connecting with mobile network, 4G network, it will be allotted with different IP address. So IP address is a logical address, whereas MAC address is a physical address. Please remember this. Now, you are entering google.com in the web browser, right? And this google.com, how? Because I need the IP address for communicating to the Google server, right? So I need to convert this google.com. This is called canonical name. This is called canonical name, right? So it's a terminology used in network. This canonical name needs to be converted to an IP address, right? And this work will be done by DNS. DNS is nothing but domain name system. The work of domain name system is it converts the canonical name into IP address, right? So every system, every network has DNS server. It's a local DNS server. The work of DNS server is it gets the input from the source host and it replies with the IP address. The input is going to be the canonical name, right? So the input is going to be the canonical name, and it gives input canonical name as the input, and it replies with the IP address of the respective canonical name, right? So this is how we'll see the working process of DNS later. So let's know about working of DNS. DNS takes canonical name as input and replies with the IP address of the respective canonical name. So this is how this DNS works, right? Why there is a need, right? Why there is a need of DNS is nothing but so human cannot able to remember the IP addresses. IP addresses is of, as you already said, 32 bits of information, and we cannot able to remember all the numbers, right? So that's why because people are capable of remembering their names rather than remembering the numbers. So we cannot able to remember 10 to 15 IP addresses, but we can able to remember websites, right? So that is why it has been automated. And DNS, there is an introduction of DNS as a server, local server. Every network has a DNS server. The work of DNS server is it gets the canonical name from the source host and it replies with the IP address of the requested canonical name, right? So this is how the source host will get the IP of the canonical name requested. And important thing you want to note on is every IP has two informations. One is network ID, another one is host ID, right? As I already said, 32 bits of information. It consists of network ID, another host ID. Network ID is used to identify which network I need to reach, because the entire world of internet, there is a huge number of networks available. You need to identify which network you want to reach out, and once you have reached the network, then you want to identify which host you want to reach within the network, right? So to reach your destination host, you need the network ID. To reach your host ID, so to reach the respective host, you need the host ID. You can ask now. So we have reached the host, but how to reach the respective process? Here one more information is included in each layer, which is transport layer, which is nothing but the port number, right? Here port number, every individual process will be allotted with separate port numbers, right? So we'll discuss about this in more detail in OSI layers, right? So this port number is used for identifying which process I need to reach, right? So there are three informations are needed to reach one particular process in one particular system in one particular network. Network ID is majorly used for reaching the destination network, and host ID is majorly used for reaching the destination host, and port number is used for reaching the destination process, right? So this is how a process a communication takes place between one system to another system, right? This is how a client server model works, right? So we'll get back to it later in the OSI model discussion, right? Right. So let's move on to the next one, type of networks. Networking types. First one, local area network, metropolitan area network, wide area network. Three major types. This classification is made purely based on the geographical area, right? Purely based on the geographical area. This classification is made based on the geographical area, right? So local area networks. Local area network is nothing but it's of smaller size, right? So it's of smaller size in the sense not more than within a building or else within an organization which is covered within the distance of 1 kilometer of distance, right? So which is smaller in size, right, compared to the rest of the two, right? So local area networks, the name itself it explains, it is self-explanatory term, right? Local area network is nothing but, so it is used to share the information between within the organization, sharing resources within organization, right? And it is majorly used, a good example for local area networks is sharing a printer. Sharing a printer. So let's take a small example. This is one host, another host, another host, one printer. All are LAN connected, right? All are LAN connected. So this individual system can able to make a printout through this LAN connection, and parallelly this system can also able to use this. So this system can also be able to use. So all the 6 systems can able to use this printer, which is this is a printer connected through LAN, right? So this is the major advantage of local area network is, right? Local area network. So it is used for majorly sharing the resources, sharing the data, right? So one important disadvantage is it's a lack of security, right? So data that is shared through local LAN, so will be accessed by whoever connected in the LAN. So that is why there is a lack of security, major disadvantage of local area networks, right? And let's move on to the it's as I said, local area network is within an organization which is of smaller size, right? So next one, metropolitan area network, which is MAN, metropolitan area network, right? So here this local, it's metropolitan area network is nothing but, so it's a connected LANs, connected different LANs, right? So connected different LANs. Let's take any organization, right? Any organization with 2 different offices in the same city, right? Any organization with 2 different offices in the same city can able to share the resources. Here also the purpose is nothing but the sharing of resources, sharing of data or else resources between 2 different offices, right? And in case of your local area network, they used to have twisted pair cables, right? The medium they use is twisted pair, whereas in this case metropolitan city, so they use fiber optics cables, right? Fiber optics cables for communication, for connecting 2 different offices, right? This fiber optic cable will work as a backbone network, right? So then this is majorly used for connecting two different offices of same city, right? So this is the major use of metropolitan area network, right? Next one is wide area network. Wide area network. We can call this wide area network as connected MANs, right? Connected metropolitan area network, right? So this wide area network, which is available in different. For example, if you want to have a separate wide area network for organization, you need to have more number of servers that connects through satellites, right? Here, the connection medium is going to be satellite or fiber optics or through telephone lines, right? These are the possible transmission mediums in case of wide area network, right? So Google has a separate wide area network, which is Google software defined wide area network, and Microsoft also has Google B4 is also another wide area network, and Microsoft also has their own separate wide area network to cover the entire world, right? So this is what important point you want to note down. And this medium that is used for wide area network is satellite and fiber optics, right? So this is what the major network types. Let's move on to the next one, which is architecture. In terms of architecture, we have peer-to-peer architecture, right? Peer-to-peer architecture is here people are used to aware of BitTorrent, right? BitTorrent is nothing but it's a network to share your files, right? We have already discussed about client-server model, right? Client make a request and a server will respond for it, right? Purely depends on the requirements. It may request for any data in the server and server will respond for it. That is what client-server model is. Peer-to-peer network is entirely different. So here there is no client and there is no server, right? So people are that is hosts are called with a name called peers, right? Everyone is a peer. So let's take example. 5 different systems are there, right? This is a peer-to-peer network, and source systems are connected. And here this is a peer, this is a peer, this is a peer, this is a peer, this is a peer. There is no client and there is no server in this. Anyone can act as a client and anyone can act as a server also, right? So they have communications between both directions, right? Because as I already said, there is no client and there is no server. No one will act as a client always and no one will act as a server always. Here, let's take the connected systems share the resources, right? Connected systems. Here, these two systems are connected and it shares the resources. These two are connected and shares the resources, and there is no connection between these two resources, these two systems, because there is no data that is going to be shared between these two, right? What is the major advantage of peer-to-peer network is here this can act as a source at some point of time, and if it has some data and that needs to that needs to be shared to this, and this will act as a source and this will act as a server, and if the data available in this system needs to be shared to this system, then at that point of time this will act as a source and this act as a server, right? So there is no permanent client and there is no permanent server, right? Any system can act as a source and any system can act as a server. What is the major advantage of this is, so here sharing of resources, sharing of data, and this the major advantage is it shares the load. For example, in case of your client server model, right, data always available in the one single server, and more number of requests that comes for a single server which cannot be handled at some point of time, right? And due to this, there is a case, there are cases where server may go down, right? And to avoid this, we can go for peer-to-peer network, right? Nowadays, lot of social networks are running with peer-to-peer network, right? And good example for peer-to-peer network is BitTorrent, right? So here it shares the load, right? For example, these two systems shares the information, and if this system is requesting for some data, then it can send the request to this, and since this is also having the same information which what this has, so this can also able to respond for this request. So two system can able to respond for this single request, so that the request is shared between two systems, right? So this is the major advantage of peer-to-peer network. There is no permanent client and there is no permanent server. Anyone can act as a client and anyone can act as a server, right? This is what peer-to-peer network is. We have already discussed about client-server model, and next one is OSI and TCP, that we will discuss later. It's a layered architecture, right? OSI and TCP is a layered architecture. So it's a we can easily remember this. That consists of 7 layers. It consists of 7 layers. Please do not touch system private area. So physical layer, data link layer, network layer, transport layer, session layer, presentation layer, application layer. There are 7 different layers in this. Here this is nothing but a OSI model. 7 different layers: physical, data link, network, transport, session, presentation and application. Up to this, now you just aware of this layers alone, right? Every communication that takes place, this is nothing but source and this is nothing but destination. Here also same 7 layers will have, right? And the source, the data will be generated at application layer, and it has to cross all these 7 layers, and it will get transmitted over the routers, and in the similar process will at the destination will happen at the destination also, to reach the respective process in the application layer, right? So this is at the source and this is at the destination. So data has to cross all these 7 layers, and it will be transmitted over routers, and it will reach the destination host, and it has to cross another 7 layers to reach the respective process in the application layer. So this is how OSI model works, and the TCP/IP model also the similar process of layered concept. Here instead of 7 layers, they have refined it to 4 layers, right? So one is physical layer, data link layer, internet layer. They have clubbed the process of network layer and transport layer and application layer, right? Processes in the working process, all everything same, but this application layer takes care of the process of session layer, presentation layer and application layer of OSI model, and this internet layer takes care of network layer and transport layer, right? So this is how this TCP/IP architecture works. That we will discuss later. This is what basic introduction about architecture level of classification, right? Okay, we'll move on to the next one, devices. Just a minute. Devices. First one, hub. These are all networking devices: hub, switch, bridge, router, modem and gateway, right? Hub is nothing but it's a device to share the information between end systems, right? It's a connecting device. It has more number of ports, right? So there are 24 ports available, and there are 48 ports available, 32 ports available, depends on the size of the hub. It can able to communicate with, it can able to connect with 24 number of ports, right? Purely depends on the number of ports available in the hub. If it is of 24 ports, then it can able to connect with 24 number of hosts, right? So that is what working of a hub is, right? Here it can able to connect to one system, and every port can able to connect to one system, right? And the connected systems can able to share the information, right? This is a connecting device. This acts as a central controller, right? So switch also has similar process. We can compare hub and switch, right? Switch also has similar process. It is also having ports, right? It is also having ports to connect to end systems, right? What is the major difference between hub and switch is, if one node is transmitting some data to any of the node in the network, then hub receives the data and it will be forwarded only through broadcast. Broadcast is nothing but, there are three types of forwarding available. One is unicast, another one is multicast, another one is broadcast. Unicast is nothing but one-to-one communication, right? One host communicating to another host that is connected in the network. That is what one-to-one communication, that is unicast. Multicast is one-to-many, right? One source, but it is a finite number of hosts, right? One node communicates with some more than one connected system in the network, right? So that is what one-to-many connection, and one-to-many transmission. Broadcast is, it's an whoever that is connected in the network will receive the copy of the transmission. So that is what broadcast is. Hub works with the mechanism of broadcast. If I am transmitting a data to the connected systems, this is an input port, it receives the data and it doesn't check for whom I am going to transmit, right? So it will have a copy of that data and that will be transmitted over whoever connected in the hub, right? So that is what the working mechanism of hub, right? It doesn't have any software, right? It doesn't have any software, right? Whereas switch has software, right? So this is compared to this is a brilliant one, right? Brilliant device, right? Here any source transmitting a data to one particular another host, then it will forward the data to the respective host, right? Whereas in this case, everyone will receive the copy of the data transmitter, right? Whereas switch has software, you can able to configure. You can able to configure in case of a switch, whereas in this case, it is going to be work in the layer of physical layer in OSI model, whereas this works at data link layer. Right? This works at physical layer and this works at data link layer. So this is the major classification between hub and switch. So switch is a smarter device, whereas hub is a normal physical layer device. It makes a copy of it and it will be getting forwarded to whoever connected in the device, connected in the hub, right? So that is what a hub and switch is. And next one is bridge. Bridge is nothing but, so bridge and router can be compared. Router connects two different networks. It transmits packets between two different networks, right? It transmits different packets between two different networks. Whereas bridge, so it connects, this is a bridge device. It connects two different sub-networks, right? It connects two different, for example, if I have two sub-networks in my own network, right? My own network within an organization, if two different subnetworks available, right? There are subnets available. Every network may have subnets, right? And this is one subnet and this is another subnet, right? So within an organization, this subnet can be connected with this subnetwork using the device called bridge, right? For connecting two different subnetworks, bridge device is used. Whereas connecting two different networks, this is one organization, this is another organization. To transmit the information between this organization to another organization, router will be used, right? So router is a outside device, right? Whereas bridge is a within an organization device that connects two different sub networks, right? So this is regarding bridge and router and modem, right? Modem is a very important device where people are getting internet connections through modems, right? So if you are having your Wi-Fi in your home, right, surely you will get through telephone lines, right? Telephone lines. Modem is nothing but modulator and demodulator. Modulator and demodulator. That is why it is called modem, right? So modulator and demodulator. What it does is it is giving connection to the end users through DSL lines, right? So it is modulating and demodulating the signals between the digital data of computer and analog data of telephone line, right? It is modulating between the digital data. It converts the analog data into digital data and it demodulates again digital data into analog data, right? It modulates the signals between digital data of computer and analog data of telephone lines. This is called DSL connection, right? So in your end user, now people are getting Wi-Fi connections through telephone lines, right? So in the analog, through telephone lines, it comes with analog signal and it is modulating into digital signal and it is connected to the internet. And after receiving, because transmission will be of full duplex is both the bidirectional communication. It again demodulates and demodulates the digital data into analog data, right? So that is the work of a modem. It's a modulator and demodulator. The signals are getting modulated and demodulated from analog to digital and digital to analog, both in both connections, right? So this is what working of a modem is, right? Modem is a very important device nowadays, right? Fine. Next one is gateway. We have already discussed. It's nothing but an entry and exit point. Let's take this is one network and this is another network. You can take any number of network. So that will be a gateway. Gateway is majorly used for communicating with, this is internet, communicating with outside world. This is a gateway. So whatever the any number of hosts that is available in the network, right? So how many number of IP addresses, public IP addresses you may have. So whatever the request that comes, it has to cross this gateway router, right? And this gateway router will, which in turn, because whatever the request that comes from this network, it will be represented as a request generated with this IP, right? This gateway IP, right? This gateway IP have one IP address, and that will be represented from this. Let's take a good example for this gateway router. For example, if you have a network and there are multiple number of hosts available, right? Everyone is trying to hit the IRCTC server. This is IRCTC server, right? And this is the Tackle booking. Let's take this is a Tackle booking, and this source also wants to book a ticket. As you all know that IRCTC server from an IP during Tackle time, you can able to book only 2 tickets at a time, right? So during Tackle time process, right? So this host also, a person in this host wants to book a ticket, and a person within the same network, another person sitting in another system also wants to book a ticket, right? So 2 requests comes from same network. So this is a gateway router, right? So as I already said, whatever the request that comes from this network, it will be represented with a common IP, right? Let's take this is 118.16.18.20. As I already said, because 2 requests crosses the gateway router sends the request. Let's take this request comes first, right? And the ticket is getting booked in the IRCTC server, right? and once the next request crosses the gateway router and hits the server, this request will be blocked, right? Because two requests comes from same network. Whatever the request that comes or that goes out of the gateway router will be represented with the same IP. Even though you will be having two requests with different IPs, but when it crosses the gateway router, it will be represented by it will be represented as the request generated by the gateway router, right? So both the requests will have the IP of 118.16.18.20. So the first request generated by this host will get booked and the second request will get rejected, right? So this is the working mechanism of gateway routers. So it's an entry and exit point of a network, right? And one more device is available, which is repeater. Repeater is nothing but, for example, I have a modem available and its coverage distance is somewhat like this, right? And if I want, for example, there is a device, there is a need for some place to extend my Wi-Fi connection, right? So you need to have a repeater, right? For example, this modem can able to cover this distance and I need to extend the strength of my Wi-Fi signal, so I need to have a repeater somewhere here, right? So within the coverage range of this modem, so that this can able to amplify the signal. Amplify is nothing but strengthening the signal. So this can able to provide coverage distance of, because by getting this connection I am going to strengthen the signal to extend for some more range, right? Some more distance. So that is the working mechanism of a repeater. When using the same Wi-Fi signal, I am getting the connection from this same modem and I am going to strengthen the signal. I am going to amplify the signal so that I can able to cover some more distance, right? So that is the work of a repeater. Next one, medium. The last topic, coaxial cable. Coaxial cable. So if you take a coaxial cable has a lot of categories: RG58, RG59, RG62, RG6, right? Lots of types of cables available, right? So it has only one metallic rod available in this. For example, your cable will be like this. One single metallic rod. If you want to see a coaxial cable, if you have a DTH connection in your home, you can easily see. You can unplug that cable and you can see only one metallic rod will be available in the cable. So that is nothing but the coaxial cable, majorly used for DTH connections and high definition TV and video transmissions. So majorly used for such type of working mechanisms, right? So it can able to offer 10 Mbps of speed, right? Coaxial cables are majorly used for this types of works, right? So this it depends on the type. It can able to offer higher data rate, right? So RG58, RG59, RG62, all these are categories of coaxial cables, right? Majorly used for DTH and television connections, right? And one more, the next one is twisted pair. So twisted pair, it's nothing but there are you can see a twisted pair cable like this, a cable like so. There are 4 number of pairs available in this. Total 8 number of cables available, right? 8 number. All the cables are twisted, right? So to reduce the attenuation, right? Because we'll know about this later because there is a separate topic available. The cables are twisted, right? Why it is twisted? We'll discuss about it later. So this twisted pair cables majorly used for LAN connections, right? Majorly used for LAN connections, and it can telephone connections. For getting your DSL lines, we use from modem. We are making use of this twisted pair cable to connect your laptop, right? So for this, if you take the category 1, category 2, category 3, category 4, category 5, category 5e, category 6, all these are category types of twisted pair cables. Each can able to offer different data rates, right? So if you take the advancement of twisted pair cable is category 6, which can able to offer 1000 Mbps per second, right? And 5e can able to offer 100 Mbps per second, right? So which is the maximum data rate of twisted pair cable, right? So here twisted pair cables majorly used for LAN connections, right? So for connecting your systems, right? That is majorly use of twisted pair cable, right? So we'll get about it later. So this is this is basic introduction about the medium transmission medium, coaxial cable and twisted pair cable. Fiber optics is entirely different from these two, right? Fiber optics, this is the cable, and you have fiber optics mostly used for backbone network, right? So for a corporate office connecting to another a branch connecting to another branch, mostly used, as I already said, metropolitan area network. For connecting one source to one office to another office, they used to have this fiber optics cable lie down the LAN. And fiber optics cable, this is the outer cover, plastic hard cover, and within the hard cover you have a glass rod, right? This glass rod, data will be transmitted using reflection of your light, right? So data, you can able to achieve higher data rate. Data are getting reflected within the glass rod, right? So you can have multiple transmissions also, right? Because the light will not get collided, right? You can have an example also. You can take a glass rod, you can cover it with something, and you can pass a laser light, so you will get the same output by which it is getting transmitted over the tube, over the glass rod, right? So it will be produced as it is, right, without any colliding with other signals, right? So this is the major advantage of fiber optics, and you can able to achieve higher data rate. The most fastest data rate you can able to get through fiber optics cables, right? So fiber optics, that is the biggest advantage, and you can able to achieve data rate up to gigabits per second, right? 100 gigabits per second, 1000 gigabits per second can be able to achieve through fiber optics cables, right? And the last one is wireless. So if you take wireless medium, right, all the three stated above, which is coaxial, twisted pair, and fiber optics, all are wired medium. Whereas wireless medium, there are two broad categories. One is radio signal, another one is radio waves, another one is microwaves. Radio waves are waves, so due to its characteristics, right? So with the with the lowest wavelength, it can able to reach longer distance, right? So this radio waves majorly used for broadcasting. Whereas microwaves, due to its unidirectional is nothing but it can able to communicate in one direction, one particular direction, not in all 360 degrees, right? Due to its characteristics of unidirectional transmission, so this is majorly used for one-to-one communication, which is unicasting. We can call it as unicasting in terms of terminology, right? So this is broadcasting information. So radio waves. So for example, if you take any radio network, right? Any radio network. So its frequency range avails between say 87 to 108, right? So this is going to be the range of frequency of the radio network. So it can able to cover a very larger distance compared to microwaves, right? So radio waves are able to cover larger distance, and it can able to receive as much number. This is going to be a broadcast, right? Anyone can receive signal of it, right? Whereas microwaves it will not, right? Microwaves are majorly not. It is highly used for unicasting, which is transmission from one person to another person, whereas radio waves majorly used for broadcasting, right? So till this we have completed the basic introduction of computer networks. We'll discuss about more things in upcoming videos. Thank you.